Hello and welcome back to another channel update. My name is Syken. Today we're going through a channel update. It is October 2025 and I should have done one of those for quite a few months by now. So apologies for the inactivity. I wanted to just cover a couple of interesting news. Those of you who are XCOM 2 fans, you might want to stick around and not immediately click away. So a couple of updates. Normally I don't do the private stuff, but I have to say that it had become a bit more difficult to create content lately. Good news is I've become a father yet again to a second young, wonderful boy. Unfortunately, that also means, for those of you who know what it means to be a parent, that if you're working 60 hours a week and you on top of that do have family, and on top of that you're taking care of yourself and doing some gym and other sports activities, then there's really limited time in the day to actually do YouTube content. It has nothing to do with not loving my community here. I love all of you guys, seriously I do. But there is just only so much fuel left in the tank if you come home at 10 p.m. in the evening and you just need to do a couple of episodes. There is a vast difference between watching Netflix passively and actively recording content and making it engaging. So without further ado, I still attempt or intend to continue my YouTube journey, so nothing has changed there. Let's dive into what we're currently doing, what is planned for the near future, and then there's a lot of interactive content where I will need your help as well. So first and foremost, let's look at the current Let's Plays. I haven't really talked about that a whole lot. I have streamlined my content schedule where I'm not going to release 2 or 3 games at the same time. I much rather take one game at a time and just play through that. At the moment, this is King Arthur Knight's Tale. I'm super happy with that game. I will also do a review later and also a couple of guides, but this game is an absolute gem, potentially my find of 2025, a little bit late to the party there. But if you are an enjoyer of XCOM or tactical games in general and you like medieval settings, then this is likely the best game that I've seen so far, period. Hands down, a fantastic game. Hence me also going to go through the entire playthrough and then also through what they call the end game, which is really optional, harder content. So that is what's going to air at the moment. And following that, I do have a little bit more content that is already pre-recorded. There is a spin-off of King Arthur called Legion 9, which is really kind of a lower or smaller version. Imagine it as the Chimera squad of King Arthur. That's potentially hitting the nail on the head. It is set in a more Roman theme version, which I enjoyed a lot. Played through it, and the blind playthrough will also come on the channel. For full disclosure, since I enjoyed the game King Arthur that much, I have also done a full challenge run, which with just much harder challenges to go through the entire game on the hardest difficulty and additional challenges on top of that. Unfortunately, the mod support doesn't really have a whole lot of harder challenges, so I just set my own challenge as always. I will not immediately release that. I'll potentially do it next year to not have back-to-back King Arthur content for half a year. And then I dabbled into, as a new father, the adventures of just doing solo adventures. There are a couple of books more in the fantasy kind of realm where you can do analog gaming, I would call it. So typically not my forte on this channel, but since I am a big TTRPG nerd, I also wanted to share that with you, because this is basically one-on-one tactical gaming. It's not a computer game per se, but if you do have very limited time available, this might be something that you're interested in. I have recorded a few sessions of products that I purchased and that I am playing through on camera, so that will air as well. So far so good. That's all non-XCOM content. I know those of you who have an itch for XCOM are already like, Syken, you said there is something in store. Wait for it. And with that, we're coming to the XCOM 2 portion. So, drum roll, I am going back to XCOM 2, maybe not full time, but at least I mentioned that in the last video. I wanted to revisit the game periodically, and this is me doing exactly that. There are a couple of reasons for that. Number one, half a year of hiatus from the game really made me realize just how much I like the game overall, and I think I'm ready to pick up the commander seat yet again. Number two, it is a great game in my current circumstance with very limited time to just play half an hour, get an episode in, and record content that you guys will enjoy. So, naturally, when coming back to XCOM 2, unless I'm picking up the Long War portion, which I'll comment on a little bit later in this video, I will need a proper challenge. And I've really thought long and hard about it. And the core problem is that I've mainly done everything there is to do in terms of challenges, so we need to really think a little bit outside of the box, and that is where the planned content, and this is kind of a concept art for that, is coming into play. So what are we going to plan? The new run, I don't have a title yet. If you do have a good one, feel free to leave a comment down below about it. Will be something alongside Syken versus the evil AI overlord or ChatGPT. And here's the thing of how the challenge will work. I want to make the run in itself meaningfully difficult so that I can't just curb stomp through it. And with that, I will enact something called permanent side traps, where I will need to always enforce negative side traps, whether or not I'm having them. Doesn't mean. So every single mission, I am only allowed to take 3 soldiers per mission, and the maximum that I'm allowed to level up soldiers is the sergeant rank. So that in itself means we're permanently under the effect of surgical and low profile. There are also a couple of mods that add additional side traps. I am contemplating to maybe take some of these mods to just make it a little bit more difficult. That kind of adds a nice little baseline, where you are forced to basically just go with 3 soldiers and have a very, very difficult mission. Then on top of it, I wanted to have a limited amount of interesting mods. I was considering secondary weapons in terms of pistols for everyone. Doesn't really make everybody stronger, but solves a couple of issues and allows for some minor additional side traps where you're, for instance, not allowed to use your main weapon and everybody just needs to go in pistolero style. That sounds fun, doesn't it? And then a couple of limited amounts of interesting mods. I'm open for suggestions here. A couple of you in the past have suggested mods. Now I just wanted to leave the door open. I want to make it as close to the experience on a console as possible, to not go into heavily modded runs. So just plain runs with a couple of limitations or challenges from my end. Now, where's the kicker? Why does it say Syken versus ChatGPT? This is where the run actually will become insane, depending on a couple of factors, of course. So we will use ChatGPT. For those of you sleeping under a rock, that is a large language model that you can use to make more or less independent or randomized decisions based on your inputs. And we will let ChatGPT act as an evil AI overlord. The idea in this run will be that the Advent faction is heavily sabotaging the Avenger, and therefore our typical smooth flying away and so on just doesn't work. So what I will need is a very long list of random events, and this is really where you and your input will make the run incredibly difficult, or potentially incredibly difficult. So put in whatever you want into that random event list. The only limitation is I would not encourage to put "you lose the game" in there, because that would be not really fun. But anything else pretty much goes. Soldier X dies, injures, retires. Soldier A and B fall in love and need to be deployed together. Current research is cancelled or delayed. You need to research A, B, and C next. Must build a certain building to screw up the build order. You must maybe cancel the current latest building and wait for 10 days because there had been an explosion on board. Then equipment could be mixed up, randomized equipment for everyone, or everybody needs to get smoke grenades and medkits, something along those lines, or even influences on the next mission. Tactical comms can be corrupted, which allows us to not use cover for a mission, or we can only deploy a single type of class, or we can only use secondary weapons. So I'll leave it up to your creativity. I didn't want to give too many hints so that you can really come up with something absolutely evil and malicious. What I will do is I will take all of those inputs, every single one. We'll compile a list, and we will let ChatGPT select 1 to 3 of these random events after every single mission. That means there is a chance that our highest level soldiers simply will be assassinated, or they retire, or they go onto a long hiatus because they need to do a special ops mission that allows us to not deploy them for a month at a time. Imagine when you're putting those comments down, something that's actually interesting to watch and not just something that screws me over. I don't care. I will play with whatever, but the more interesting you make it for everyone, the more interesting this run is going to be. And I think this is actually going to add a whole nother level of depth, because in a sense, what we're doing with those events is we're quote unquote programming individual mods that don't exist on the fly and force limitations into the game that we can think about. So I think it's going to be a really cool factor of A, from a community standpoint, but B, also from a replayability standpoint. And if it is fun to play, then I'm more than happy to also release the ChatGPT comments as well as the entire list. And then you can just play it yourself and modify it to your liking. So let me know if you like that. I think it's a really neat concept for a new run. But wait, there is still more. I have a couple more planned minor contents. I got 4 submissions for Saving Your Disaster campaigns. Gotta apologize for the guys that sent them in, because some of them are already like 6 months old and I haven't really done an update. I will play through all 4 of them. And the way that I'm seeing those little mini campaigns is they are a snack here and there that you can consume in between larger game content, where you just watch 5 to 10 episodes and we have a joint laughter and see if I can turn around the campaign. It's always good time. So those will continue. Then a word or two on the status of Long War. I mentioned already my personal situation, and I came to the conclusion that the global liberation of my campaign for now still needs to remain on ice. It's not really that I don't want to finish it. My mom hasn't raised a soy boy quitter. I typically finish what I start. But I've already mentioned in my previous video that Long War typically tends to be a slog. You do have hour-long missions, preparation is another hour. And if I start at 10 and then do the preparation, and then it's 12 because you need kind of an hour or 1.5 to just prepare and get everything ready, then that's already a gaming session with 0 content recorded. So it's just not really helpful for any of us at this point. I need more time and a little bit clearer head to do it. However, there is some additional content that I still want to run by you, and again, I need your input. All right, finally, let's look into a couple of future projects, and I'll keep this short because I don't want the channel update to be too long. So I need your input. I'll put up a vote for potential future projects, and I will select 1 or 2 out of the top rated ones. Here are the options that I would have. All of the games are great, so I'll just give it a 1-sentence pitch for it. We either go into the Owl Cat games, that's mainly Pathfinder, Kingmaker, and Wrath of the Righteous, could also be the expansion for Rogue Trader. That would be great CCRPG stuff, and I would love to play that. Second option, another CCRPG, Baldur's Gate 3, widely regarded as one of the best games ever created. I would definitely love to play a blind version on the hardest difficulty and just see how far we're going to get. Is 5th edition D&D, but it has a lot of depth as far as I'm concerned, so we're certainly going to have some fun with that as well. third Lord of the Dead Eratus, we played the hardest difficulty that was originally available. That is called Good Always Wins. There is a harder difficulty though, and since it is a roguelike game, it tends you to fail over and over and over until you get kind of that great run and level up enough. So I would like to try the very hardest difficulty and see just how it plays. I have no idea how I would build it, but I've gotten a firm grasp of the game, so that would be fun as well. Fourth option would be Pillars of Eternity 2. If you talk about the 10 games that are the best tactical games of all times, then typically Pillar of Eternity 2 would be amongst the top 10. It is just like Divinity Original Sins 2, a fantasy version with a more tactical spin to it. Really like the first version of the game, never played the second one, so that could be an option for us to explore. Fifth option, Phoenix Point, Terror from the Void mod, which is the overhaul version. It's the Long War version of Phoenix Point. So what Long War is to XCOM, that Terror from the Void mod as an overhaul is to Phoenix Point. Fixes a lot of the issues, makes the game more balanced, smoother, reimagines a lot of the research and the classes, etc., etc. It wouldn't be a full run if I would go into it, simply because that would be too long, but maybe 30 odd episodes of fun with the Terror from the Void mod just to get some good gameplay in. And then finally, the sixth option would be War Tales and the many, many mods that have been released over the last, say, 18 months. The Skelma Invasion, the Thief, and a couple of other mods have been released. It's still actively developed, which, kudos to the gaming company, really means that the game and the content is enriched. There are plenty of new builds. The maximum level is now 15, if I'm recalling correctly. So we would jump right back into it and essentially get going from the start. So that's the options. I will put a poll down in the interaction section of my channel. Go visit it. Put your vote in, but before you leave, the more important part is even that you comment down below and give me an input for the ChatGPT version of the newest run. I need some random events that you think about. You can put multiple comments in there. I want to fill the list as much as possible, so keep the comments rolling, guys. Truly appreciate your viewership. Thank you for tuning in, and see you on the next episode. Bye bye.